Well, let's, if we can, try and tie up the loose ends that emerged from the extraordinarily dramatic running of the Queen Mother Champion Chase. You'll remember that wishful thinking fell at the fourth, went under the rails, and then the runners bypassed the final fence on the final circuit. But there was a deal of confusion between Andrew Lynch and Barry Geraghty and the subsequent riders as to whether they were to jump it or go round. Luckily, they all went round. Jamie Stier is with me, who's the Director of Regulation for the British Horse Racing Authority. Jamie had an unusual instance insofar as it didn't seem immediately obvious to them that they had to go round. Did they have to go round the fence?
Yes, they did, Nick. What the procedure is, it's the clerk of the course calls for a fence to be bypassed. Now, obviously, on this occasion, we had Richard Johnson injured on the landing side of the fence, together with another person who we believe to be a photographer. They were not able to be moved, so we have a standard bypassing procedure which has been in place in British racing since the 1995-96 racing season. It's always included bypassing markers. In every race course across our country, it's 3 markers, which are arrows pointing the riders to go around. It's used day in, day out. Additionally, we have a flagman that waves a checkered flag to advise them that there's caution ahead. He blows a whistle to alert them to make sure that they're aware that they should be bypassing the fence. Initially today, the markers were put across the fence. Richard Linley, our senior racecourse inspector, he directed that those markers be brought close together towards the inside of the fence to provide additional protection to the injured persons on the landing side of the fence. But once the jockeys see the arrows, they see the flag, they hear the whistle, it's a system and a protocol that's been in place since, as I say, 1995-96 season, and it's a standard protocol that should take place.
But I'm guessing the reason that Barry and Andrew were confused was because those arrows had been concertina to the inside, so they went all the way across the fence. Is that a usual procedure if somebody's behind one pass of the fence?
It can happen to make sure that we provide the protection that the injured persons require, because on this occasion there were not riderless horses involved, but as you would be aware, from time to time you'll have a riderless horse continue on, and you want to make sure that a riderless horse may not jump the cordoned off fence through the markers or between markers and land on either the injured persons or those rendering assistance. Now, so it's not completely altogether unusual. The other thing is, we don't in Britain now, we don't jump parts of the fence.
Ever? Do you think, given the fact there was some confusion, it's just worth looking at that protocol? Because the last thing you would have wanted was for there to be the debacle that so nearly ensued, with one horse jumping the fence, one horse not, or both of them jumping a fence they shouldn't have done. There'd been a void race. We very, very narrowly averted a complete disaster, for which we all breathe a huge sigh of relief, but it must give you a few jitters thinking about it.
Oh yes, of course, you'd like to see things operate as smoothly as possible, and they have operated smoothly using this system up until today, and today has worked. So, but that's not to say... But it has worked, but that's not to say, Nick, as you know, that we consistently are looking at the way in which we do things, and if we think it can be improved upon, we'll do that.
I understand that it behoves jockeys to know the rules and be aware of markers and so forth, but would you agree that if a jockey is in 2 minds, then something needs to be done to clarify the situation, to make it absolutely clear what they're supposed to be doing, especially when safety and welfare are concerned?
I think you try to provide the riders with any assistance you're able to, but of course you can't sit on the horse or be there with them. So I mean, but yes, you obviously try to make things as easily understandable as possible and provide them with as much assistance as you're able to.
Yeah, I'm sort of getting the overriding feeling that we sort of got away with it.
Oh no, I think that, as I say, people will interpret it that way, there's no doubt in the world, but this process is used without any real problems quite frequently in our jumps racing. You're aware of that as well as I am. So I mean, today, yes, it has made people sit back and look, but the system has worked, thankfully, and just as it has worked previously.
Jamie, thanks for explaining to us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Nick.